Nobody travels all the way to Thailand just to explore Bangkok. It was the perfect unlikely city to launch our next carry-on adventure.
As a photographer for a group of about 15 magazines, I get some crazy assignments. And as always, I've said yes to everything crazy.
As we honed in on Bangkok's famous floating markets, I found out that JP actually grew up in a Thai restaurant on the Big Island.
Yeah, I was sold. I mean, it didn't take much. I've always wanted to learn how to make a real good, proper tom kha kai. So as soon as we were able to book the tickets, I was ready to get out of town.
We stuck to the river corridor of the Chao Phraya to make sense of the city of 8 million people, taking the free Skyrise hotel shuttle boats before we hopped on a long-tail canoe taxi heading south to a riverside eco lodge.
The scooter ride was crazy. I mean, going along the railing, you were just waiting for something to happen.
Once we actually put on the Chao Phraya, it was across from an oil refinery, and we paddled past the barges, super tankers, a bunch of tugboats and ferries. The lock to the canal to get to the floating market was closed. All the Bangkok floating markets are only open on the weekends. So we hopped on a water taxi and headed upriver to Ayutthaya, Thailand's historic former capital, hoping for calmer water. In the so-called Venice of the East, paddling around an island surrounded by rivers, we were sure to find a floating market. Or at least we tried to get all the way around before we hit this dense wall of hyacinth lilies.
As the sun went down, we pulled up just in time to watch the sunset behind the temple. It was just an amazing experience.
We still needed to find the floating market, so we routed back through Bangkok.
And we had a moment to go to an authentic cooking class and learn tom kha kai the proper way.
After a tuk-tuk ride, then trains, a ferry, another train. We loaded onto a canoe taxi and got into Amphawa, home of the region's most famous floating market. They dropped us right off at a homestay on the river.
And we decided to go out, but we got hit by a pouring rain for the first time in 4 months.
When the rain let up, we launched at night, worrying a little bit about the water quality, but also about these giant dog-sized Wanna-Wat lizard things that we'd see slither underneath our kayaks. We'd finally gotten into the thick of the floating market that we'd been hoping for. Seeing the blur of lights, the smell of gas, and the grilled shellfish, I realized just how weird and wild and probably crazy of an experience it was. The next morning, the market traffic had calmed down, and we paddled up to a soup boat for breakfast, and kicked back in the hammocks to beat the 100-degree heat. Just thought about how the best way to get away from the crowds and experience a place like that, like the locals, it's from the water.